In 1969, I came to the Audubon camp on Hog Island as their bird life instructor. In the middle 1800s, these islands along the Maine coast supported large flocks of puffins and terns and razorbills and a much wider range of birds. What we saw in 1969 were mostly gulls, herring and great blackback gulls. And the stories about the other birds were just legend. That made me start to think, what happened? So I had to research the life history of the bird that I was interested in, the life of the puffin. A little bit was known. For example, it was known that they usually nest on the same island year after year. It was pretty well determined that young puffins come back and breed where their parents were. Young puffins, after they leave the burrow, they head off to sea on their own, not with the parents. And they have all the instincts about what to find, what to feed on, all the instincts about where to go, how to survive on their own. So there was very little what's called post-parental care necessary for a young puffin when it headed to sea. That was good news for the idea that was sort of shaping in my mind. That was that if I could find a source of young puffins and I could bring them to this spot, perhaps, just perhaps, we could rear them up and they would learn that the new site, which was the historic nesting island, Egg Rock, was their home. That was the plan. 13 permits later, and a very generous neighbor with a private plane, we were on our way to Newfoundland to collect the first 6 puffin chicks. We had to develop little carrying cases that would hold the chicks, and it was a gamble. And we brought them to eastern Egg Rock, and we successfully released the first ones. And then the next year we brought 50, next year 100, and eventually about 1,000 in total were brought from Newfoundland to Maine. I was fortunate actually to be there the day the very first puffin came back. I brought out some supplies and I was on our boat when all of a sudden we spotted this first puffin coming back. And 4 more years went by just seeing the occasional puffin out there. Now we were seeing more, it wasn't just one. We'd sometimes see several at a time, but it wasn't until 8 years into this project that we saw what we really needed to see to make our case, and that was a puffin flying in with fish in its beak. Up to that point, the puffins were not carrying fish. They were just landing and looking around and usually leaving. And this was what we'd been waiting for 8 years, because then we could say for sure we had puffins breeding. And within a few days, we discovered 4 other nests, and so we in fact had a colony. Next summer, we will have our 40th anniversary of Project Puffin. So what is there now? Today, there are well over 100 pairs of puffins breeding. Most of them produce a chick each year, which tells us the waters are still very suitable for puffins, and most of those chicks have headed out, and many have come back to breed and grow the colony. Other species have also joined the community of seabirds there, like common terns, Arctic terns, and the endangered roseate tern, now breeding in the sanctuary of this island. It is the first, not just restored puffin colony, it is the first restored seabird community in the world. And to me, that's one of the most exciting parts of this, because I realized then that we had developed a method that was much more important than the colony. This method, we now call it social attraction, has been used worldwide in at least 14 other countries to help 49 other species of seabirds. In most of those places I'd never even been to. So sometimes I'm asked the question, can't we let nature take its course? And isn't there a balance in nature that's supposed to sort of take over? And when can you stop doing this kind of work? And my view is that it has changed from the beginning. I did hope that one time we could back away. But my view now of people and nature is that we are part of the balance of nature, because there's no place on earth that is not affected by human activities, and we're reminded of this all the time. And we are very naive if we think that we will ever back away and nature somehow will be on a course of its own. If we don't take direction and take responsibility for these changes, the only thing for sure is we're going to lose species, even more than we already are. What Project Puffin has shown is that we can decide which species can come back if we're persistent and creative enough to stay the course.